What do you mean Nigerian jollof's better? Mike, what do you mean Nigerian jollof's better? Are you serious?
Are you trying to blackmail me here?
Anyways, we are the Leg Kick Podcast, guys. Coming at you live.
Stefano, you're gonna get somebody shot.
Dude, hey, I'm just repeating what you said to me earlier. I couldn't believe that admission actually came out of your mouth. Wow. David, can you believe that Michael over here just admitted that Nigerian jollof is in fact the superior rice?
Finally, we resolved the generation-long conflict about Nigerian versus Ghanaian jollof. More like
you guys
Nigerian versus Ghanaian everything.
Listen, I will not allow this blasphemy to take place on this podcast.
David, by the way, Ghanaian means it's from Guinea.
No, it doesn't.
No, it does
no,
not.
It doesn't.
Anyways, everyone, believe it or not,
Stefano's really trying to get somebody
believe it or
shot.
not, this isn't an African food podcast.
No.
You hold your horses. You have tuned in to the Leg Kick Podcast, the podcast where we discuss everything MMA. We preview the fights. We review the fights. We've got a bad take of the week today. We've got some cool fights to go over. We've got some news. It was a wacky night of fights in which I lost $100. Over here we've got Michael, bad take Asiffo, Jollof Jeremy, and the Nigerian Prince himself. And we're ready to do this for you. Anything to say, boys?
Stefano, you should probably
let's get to business. Let's get to business.
Oh yeah, I'm the cream to the coffee. I'm the white to your guilt. I am the additional host of this podcast, the diversity hire, Stefano Hosko.
Right.
You guys want to say anything about yourselves? Say anything for yourselves?
I like long walks on the beach and talk about my feelings.
Well, that's good. Ladies, he's not eligible.
Hey. All right.
So,
let's talk the fights because it's a full
no,
show.
Mike, we've got a news segment first, okay?
No, sorry. Let's talk MMA because it's a full show. It is a full show.
It is a girthy show. That is true. And the first and possibly only piece of news that we have today. Let me just check the docket here. See if we got anything else.
What are you smacking on, dog?
Oh man,
I was gonna
some
say
prosciutto and cheese.
Stefano's out here enjoying, right? But let
I'm
Michael
living my
be
best life.
pancaked one time and
You're not having a manners. You're not having your own training.
Ooh,
All right.
So I'll just add this one quickly. Impa Kasanganai, fresh off being sent to the Shadow Realm, has a fight against Sasha Palatnikov. So,
Who?
Sasha Palatnikov. I don't know who he is either, but I wish him well.
All right. I mean, hey, never heard of this guy, but I'll read up. But yeah.
Jeremy Stevens versus Drakkar Klose set for April the 17th.
Drakkar Klose is on that money hunt right now. He's just trying to get money.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
You know that's going to be a fun fight against Jeremy Stevens. Because Jeremy, never an adult fight. Let's see. What else we got here? I think that is about it, except for the big breaking piece of news. Dan Hardy reportedly fired from ESPN and fired from what's that British channel called?
BT Sport.
BT Sport.
Was it ESPN or was it the UFC directly?
UFC.
UFC?
Wow. Yeah, it was.
All
Okay.
I want to say is that BT Sport has the classiest British commercials, and only they could make a thing like gambling seem so dignified. Like, I love watching sport. The screams, the shouts, the financial investments.
Somebody who's lived in the UK, I guarantee you there is nothing, Garrett. There's nothing dignified about the gambling addiction that has wreaked havoc on the British economy and culture.
It seems so much more prevalent there. Like
it's like a big problem. It's like a much bigger problem than anywhere else, I would say.
Jeez.
But yeah, no, just
I feel like in 10 years that's going to be North America because like they're really opening up our laws to
it's too
gambling.
much. And also, it's not even related to a topic we're going to talk about, but just watching the coverage from prelim to the end of the night, man, the Draft Kings like ads, like I get it, get your money UFC, but come on, we have Islam Makhachev coming out for a fight. This guy is a devout Muslim, and you during his fight, you're promoting the odds for it. Like, come on, man. Like, something's not right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it'd be funnier if he was coming out and the poor guy, they're like, Islam Makhachev's fight brought to you by beer and pork. It's like, Jesus,
Yeah, pretty
UFC
much.
tone deaf much. Be respectful. No.
He's already fighting on top of Modelo. Like, I mean, like, give me a break.
You know, there's a scandal. I don't know if you guys remember this. A few years back, where they put Khabib long before he was the Khabib we know and love. He was running through the division, but still not at the height of his popularity. And in the UFC game, they put him in, and when he would win, his animation at the end, he would do the sign of the cross. And he's like, UFC, why you do this? I am not Christian. I am Muslim. I don't understand. Please, change it. And I saw the worst takes on that possible at the time. Stuff like, well, he should just be here to be happy to be here in this country. Always immigrants always whining and complaining and looking for a handout. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's not applicable in this situation at all. And you should maybe shut the fuck up.
It's just crazy, man. It's just like a total disrespect for like these guys' culture, and just a disrespect for. You got kids watching. Let's not kid ourselves. The UFC markets to kids, and it's literally like.
Hold on. Let me tell you something here about offensive. It's like, oh no, the kids are going to hear alcohol and swearing and gambling as they watch another man bludgeon another man to death in the middle of the cage. Kids should not be watching the UFC. If you have to clean up swearing, first of all, yeah, like. They clean up swearing when it's on Fox or ESPN, like it's so much more offensive than the violence. I'm sorry, kids should not be watching it.
Hey, but they do a good job of marketing to the kids, though. I remember
they market to the kids. I'm not saying.
I remember when I was a kid, they would like Mackenzie Glen Public School was, fully bare kids watch the UFC. Like it was a thing all over my elementary school when I was a child. So
if not kids, at least teens, okay? Yeah. And you guys, you're encouraging, not like promoting. You're encouraging people to like spend their money on like betting. You have John Anik literally talking during the fight, talking about like, Mackenzie Dern or whatever, Megan Anderson's coming into this as a minus 200 like underdog. Oh, the Vegas
should have been less after that
like,
fight.
Come on, man, like it's too much.
Should have been less after that fight, though. I'll tell you.
I feel like it's so funny how some of the commentators will just no sell them when him or Brendan, whatever his name, Fitzgerald, brings up the odds, and then Paul Felder will either be like, yeah, no one cares about that stuff. And Brendan Fitzgerald will be like, some people do care about it. And then they'll just no-sell him and ignore what he's saying. It's the funniest thing. And to be fair, I don't find it.
This started from the Dan Hardy being fired conversation.
We'll get to it. I don't find it offensive, personally, gambling odds. I just don't see the need for it. To list the gambling odds before the fights. Like, if I want to go out and place bets on this, I will.
Yeah. It's because gambling's huge. As a person who had to work in sports, I understand like how big of a market gambling is. I mean, look, I'll say it like this. Half the reason why esports hasn't really taken off the way I thought it would a couple years back is because they had a couple gambling scandals, and as a result, that sport's been shut out from the cultural zeitgeist, right? So, yeah,
gambling scandals. How? Hold on.
There was a lot of esports gamers, right, and esports players taking some some bribes.
Can I be honest? The fact that that's even mentioned with the term sports is offensive to me. Like, hey, it's a difficult competition. Yeah, I'm sure.
It's legitimate. That's the thing. But is
don't
it
you call it a sport? Damn it.
Yeah.
My thing is like, it's one thing to even promote it. Like, I get it. Like, half of the reason I would argue, some people would even argue, like the reason we even have sports in the way we do, with the money we have in sports, is because of things like gambling. There's so many cards, so many events, so many fights, so many matches that we watch where we don't have a personal interest. It's not our team, not our guy fighting. And in order to make it more interesting, like, people
They
put a
got
little bit
push.
of money in it. Like, I get it. But like, man, every 15 minutes there's like a pop-up in the bottom. Every like fight, there's like the odds, and you got the in-fight commentator. Like, it's too
It's too much.
much,
You
man.
know,
And
remember?
I get it.
I
It's like,
remember. Sorry, go
I
ahead.
think people
Stefan.
should have access to their vices, absolutely. But it's just so crazy to me how our society judges some vices as so much more acceptable and ubiquitous as other. Like, you know, it's a good thing that we regulate smoking the way that we do, and that for the most part, cigarettes aren't able to advertise in the cage, right? But at the
Yeah,
same time, yeah, we're throwing gambling in people's faces too. Like, gambling ruins a lot of lives as well. And it's one of those things where, like, if you want to seek it out, you should be able to get it. But I guess, like, yeah, the ethics of allowing so much advertising.
That's the problem. It's not that they advertise, it's the rate at which they advertise. Like, I have no problem with just a little tag of like Megan Anderson minus plus 400 underdog. And honestly, it should have been more. But, I have
Oh,
no
dude, I
problem
saw
with
she
that.
was like minus 1100 at some time. I just think what tends to happen is that as it gets closer and closer to the fight, the odds get a little bit narrower and narrower.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
I don't
What?
even think I saw so much as a please gamble responsibly kind of cautionary thing. And not only that,
100%.
like, son, not even please gamble, like, please promote responsibly. What are you doing? Like, but all these corporations are friggin'. Are we really gonna look to corporations for moral, like,
And that's the
Yep,
thing.
come on now?
yep, yep, yep,
Like,
yep.
it's
Preach on.
it's meant to feed our immoral appetites. They got half naked women walking around the cages. They got beer commercials. They got guys punching each other in the face. It's a hedonistic culture, and we love it. Come on, like, who cares?
But by the way, Bet365, if you want to sponsor us, the leggkick1 at gmail.com. We will retract all of our previous statements. Gambling everywhere, gambling for life, gambling.
Exactly.
I love
We
gambling.
should have gambling advertisements in elementary school classrooms right next to the Michael Jordan shoot for the stars, dare to be different posters.
If you think about it, gambling is really just like math, right? So like kids should be learning to gamble because they're improving their math skills,
right? Math, financial responsibility, like
Exactly.
there's phys ed involved. These are important life skills that kids can carry with them. But by the way, just a quick aside before we move on. Was it Jeremy or David that brought up about gambling and sports being so intertwined with each other, and gambling's a big reason why we do have sports on the scale that we do. That was you, David, right?
Especially, it was me,
Yeah.
especially combat sports. Like,
Yeah. So to bring up a quick point about that, we tend to fetishize Muay Thai in Thailand as like a big, respectful art, and obviously, yeah, there's a lot of tradition behind it. They have the whole ceiling of the ring as they walk around the ring.
They
But
have the
trust
harp
me, make
playing
no
around.
mistake about it. Gambling is a huge part of what drives the cultural appetite for Muay Thai. Like, it is inextricably intertwined, gambling and Muay Thai as a cultural phenomenon. For example, if you go over there and you fight in Thailand, and I've heard this from people that I've trained with in the past, you're warming up in the back room. People like from the audience, like richer people, they'll come into the back and they'll just start grabbing you, filling you up like you're some kind of a horse before a race, just to be like, yeah, you feel
like a
solid,
slave.
this and that, like a slave, like a
Like
slave.
literally checking
So
your
that
teeth.
Well, so they know what, if they're going to be placing a good bet on you, and it's like uncomfortable and awkward, but you kind of have to put up with it.
Last
Like-
night I said something to the effect of, it reminds me of the Mandingo fights from that movie Django.
Yeah. Where
Excellent.
Leonardo DiCaprio's like, good fight, boss. Like,
Good fight, boy. Good fight, boy.
So before we get into the fights I know we don't, there's going to be a lot of, speculation, because we're not exactly sure why Dan Hardy got fired. Rumor is it doesn't have to do with the Herb Dean situation, and he got into some kind of verbal altercation with a female staffer back line. He's released a cryptic tweet about like, how can you question my integrity when like blah, 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 something to that effect of his integrity being questioned. It's confusing. It's odd. I don't understand why he was let go just yet. But if I got to be honest, it's a sad day for me at least, because he's not that I don't think he can make money off of his YouTube channel, and his YouTube channel is excellent. He produces phenomenal fight breakdowns there over at Full Reptile. But I don't know. I think for me, he was one of the best commentators. I think he did the job very respectfully to the fighters. He took a very cerebral approach, very good at analyzing fights as they transpired. And for me, he was personally my favorite, especially because I had the experience of growing up watching him fight. So it's a bit of a sad day for me. Gentlemen, what do you guys think?
Can I start? No.
Oh, fuck.
No.
I think Herb Dean.
No.
And Herb Dean, we're going to get a soliloquy now about Herb Dean and Stephen A. Smith and how they were vindicated by this firing. Go on, Mike.
No, I don't know why I've developed this reputation as a Dan Hardy hater. I actually like Dan Hardy. I remember when he did his GSP promo, and he said something to the effect of, just because you wear pajamas and I don't makes you a martial artist. And I loved it. I was like, yes, sir. But yeah, no, I think this reeks to me of, you boys ever work a job and there's that one guy at the job that you look at him and you're like, for no other reason but he pisses off the bosses, he's going to get fired soon.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
That's me.
This reeks to me of they were looking for it somewhere. And I don't necessarily know if that means that's Dan Hardy's fault or that's Dana's fault or if it's a combination of both, or, you know what I'm saying? But I don't know if this was an isolated incident, let's say, if this would have been a firing, if like, you know, if my speculatory mind thinks what it is, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Am I off?
Yeah.
The one thing I would say is that we don't know what the nature of the whatever kind of conflict like Dan Hardy had with that employee. We don't know if it got physical. We don't know if it was words. We don't know what he said. We don't know what she said. We don't know like who initiated it and who was, you know, in quotation marks, the victim. So that makes it a lot tougher to like see whether the UFC is justified. What I will say though, you know, in defense of Dan Hardy, because I think let's just look at it from a step back. We're talking about one person versus an entire corporation. A corporation with like a history of, let's call it what it is, propaganda, of literally creating false narratives to suit its motive.
Propaganda.
Hashtag that person doesn't want to fight.
Literally, like they do it to anybody. They do it to anybody. Oh, we never even wanted to sign Cyborg. Like what do you mean? Like, of course you did. It's like, oh yeah, we're not interested in Ben Askren. He's not good enough. Like what? And yet you trade
GSP doesn't want to fight again. Like, it doesn't seem like me that he really wants to fight. Fights business.
Literally, like they made a career.
Women will never fight in the UFC. Yeah, you can't take. It's true. You can never take the UFC at their word ever, right? Like there's the truth and there's their narrative, and their narrative is going to be what's favorable to their, as any corporation would do. They don't have a responsibility to the truth. They have a responsibility to spin their own narrative and to promote their own interests. So I'm going to. And Dan Hardy in the past, obviously, like David said, yeah, in any situation, you got to very tentatively approach it because we don't know exactly what happened. But in the past, as far as what I know about Dan Hardy, is that he's an outspoken gentleman. He seems to have quite a bit of integrity. He's an intelligence. He's principled. And you know what? I know me and Mike have had our disagreements over Dan Hardy and some of the things that he's done in the past. But I think we can both agree that he's a man who generally,
I
as
agree,
far as we know,
integrity.
acts on principle and integrity.
I agree he's a man
Definitely.
of integrity. It's just, the disagreement was just simply that one Herb Dean situation. If I can interject, gentlemen, though, I would say, though, if it was something like serious enough to be a fireable offense, don't you think we would have heard it already? Or am I wrong? Because
you don't know. Maybe because there's a variety of things. If it is something very bad, it could be something where it's in the best interest of the UFC to keep it under the rug. And again, I'm just speculating because that could happen too. There have been situations where somebody's quietly let go from an organization. It's like Dan Schneider from Nickelodeon.
Oh yeah.
Not to infer that Dan Hardy is in any way a Dan Schneider, but with Dan Schneider, they're just like, dude, there's too much fucking foot imagery on Nickelodeon and too many creepy stories about you and girls. Like, just get out. Take your bonus. Fuck off. Don't trouble us. Go back to your creepy Beverly Hills mansion with your parties with 13-year-old girls and just go. We know Jamie Lynn Spears' baby is yours. Just fuck off, you know? But
Oh god. Allegedly.
Whoa.
Man,
But,
that Jamie Lynn Spears story though, when that came out when I was a kid, I was shocked. But anyway, go ahead.
what a scumbag Dan Schneider is.
I
But
swear we got fights to talk about.
yeah, anyways, I think we're a lot more in line on the whole Dan Hardy situation than I initially thought we'd be, which is refreshing. Because I was expecting.
Oh, you thought I was going to be. You thought I was going to be.
Dude,
So, yeah.
I thought we were gonna have to, take off the gloves or put on the gloves, depending on which sports reference you wanna throw in there.
No,
Jeremy,
I never disagreed with Dan Hardy's integrity. Like, I don't think I've ever made that point. I just kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I just kind of want to get Jeremy's perspective on this because I don't know if there's a precedent. I know you might not know too much about Dan Hardy and everything like that, but like just as far as precedents in the wider sports world as far as things like this goes.
No, yeah, you're correct. I don't know too much about Dan Hardy, the person. How exactly would this translate to a wider discussion about the sports world? Exactly.
Well, I just mean, like, have you seen similar situations where an organization, a big sports organization, maybe has had to let someone go and done it quietly, and there's been speculation, and what kind of like tropes, I guess, have you seen play out in similar situations that we can be watching for here? Any similarities that might be indicative of anything?
I would have to agree with Michael. I feel like if
Please, Jeremy. Sorry, tropes, indicative, speculative. Hey, yo, what is going on to this podcast?
we're getting professional. We're becoming professional.
Man, some of the words we're throwing around here, crazy. Okay, Stefano picked up a thesaurus today.
Yeah,
I'm throwing around $5 words, and that doesn't mean I'm intelligent. That just means I know a few $5 words. We got the veneer of intelligence here, and that's all that matters.
Hilarious, man. Nah, you're killing it. Sorry, go on, Jeremy.
You got to use those SAT words sometimes, man. Hey, no, I tend to agree with Michael. I feel like corporations tend to want to cover their ass. So if it was something that was so egregious, another SAT word, I think that they would put out some kind of press statement saying, "Look, this is what he did. This is what." So I think that it might be something where it's not too crazy, but they do want to get him out of there. So, and because you're asking me like the first thing that comes to mind, I don't really know too many other stories off the top of my head, but like the first one that comes to mind is who is the owner of the Clippers?
Sterling.
Yeah, like Sterling. Like corporations like the NBA, they want to cover their ass and they want to get rid of those guys. So they'll put everything out on the table if it's that egregious. If it's something that's not that egregious, but they do want to get somebody out of there, but they still want to stay a face, then.
Well, yeah. If I can bring up an example, Sportsnet Greg Zahn.
Yeah, then they would be. But they want to stay a face. Then they would be kind of what's the word? They'd be sneaky about it. They'd be sneaky about it.
Yeah, no, like the example I always point to is Sportsnet Greg Zahn. I remember when Greg Zahn, he was a commentator for the Blue Jays. He was an analyst, and he was really good at his job. He was like turning into basically weird comparison here, but Don Cherry of baseball for Canada. And they sent out a press. I know.
You got to get the puck in the net.
Right? But they sent out a press statement immediately talking about sexual misconduct, or was it sexual misconduct or sexual harassment of Greg Zahn to employees at Rogers. And like they got in front of it immediately. So I feel like if the UFC, if it was something like really egregious with Dan Hardy, they would have put out a press statement. They would have said they wouldn't have said like, hey, he did X, Y, and Z, but they would have said something along the lines of what happened exactly that for you to kind of,
Dan Hardy's response to all this whole situation would kind of confirm that as well. If he's talking about like, look, my integrity is still intact kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I tend to side with him.
I feel like the truth will be revealed is what I'm getting. It seems like nobody's really saying anything yet. I haven't seen an official like statement from the UFC yet. And
Dana White's going to be like, Dan Hardy was never my friend. Remember when Stitch got fired? Stitch was never my friend.
He was like, who's Dan Hardy? Who? Oh, the only British guy I know is Mike Bisping. And Bisping's going to be like, who's Dan Hardy? Like, man, anyway, Dan Hardy's going to be okay because, and that's the one thing I want to take from this, is that, man, he's going to, like, do it for ONE FC. He's going to do it for Bellator. Yeah. He likes fighting. Like, he's not just a UFC guy. Like, he's a pure martial artist. So he's going to plan.
His YouTube channel as well seems to be doing very well. Like I said, sponsored by Bet365, and it's just.
Ooh, I don't know that one.
It's one of those things where, sometimes you'll get fired from one job, and then you'll be able to divert your focus more into that, something that was a burgeoning interest. So, we wish him well. Hopefully, a friend of the podcast one day.
You'll kick my ass, but it's okay.
Well, you'll just wait till 5-10 years when he's a little bit older and his athleticism is waning, and then you can. I mean, I'm good with Dan. I'm good with Dan myself.
Nah, you'll hey man.
No, but we're good. He's not gonna want to kick my ass when he goes back and listens and sees what what I've been up to, what I've had to say about Mr. Hardy. I mean, David practically wants to gargle his balls. So
we love all British fighters here on the Leg Kick. We love all British fighters.
Wait, really? So you like what's his name? The guy that fought Anderson Silva back in the day that was convicted of the bank robbery.
Oh, King of the Cage, right? What's his name? Oh,
on the UFC once too. He armbarred Jorge Rivera.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, Lee Murray.
Yeah, Lightning Lee Murray. David's a big Lightning Lee Murray fan.
My memory's not that good. I probably know him, but my memory is not that good.
I think Anderson Silva did that back elbow on him. That
was Tony the Freak Frickland.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So insert animation transition. Anyways, animation transition pending. Till you cheap fucks send us some of your money, we'll we'll do some awkward singing. Let's see. So,
hard, man.
What a night of fights it was.
Oh, what a night.
Stacked.
And it delivered. It delivered. Not every fight was a barn burner, of course, but there were your barn burners. There were your, fun knockouts. We had some competitive title fights. We had some more cerebral battles. There were some surprises. And you motherfuckers couldn't get it together and win me some money. $100, really?
Hey, man.
Sorry. My id came out for a second. My id. So anyways, let's lead with this main event. I think we're all a little bit surprised by this result, but
low key, I'm kind of not.
Oh, shut up, Mike. Everything before this fight was just like, Israel.
Okay,
we don't even have to say too much.
Jan more of a chance. I was the one giving Jan more of a chance. I even said it was going to be close.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. Go back.
You were saying I'm trying to find a way to give him a chance. There's a difference. There's a difference between.
No, fair. I did say that.
You were playing devil's advocate without really believing in it. Let's be honest.
Okay, but I was believing in it a lot more. No, I only play devil's advocate when I believe a little, but not too much. Yeah.
You know what? I will say Michael did say it would be hard for Izzy to find some openings, and it kind of seemed like that was the case a little bit.
I don't
Izzy,
know.
Okay, guys,
I think Izzy. Here's the thing. I think Izzy did find his openings. I think a lot of the things that we were
Yeah,
saying
but
before the fight came true.
Yep.
Jan was biting very hard on feints.
Yeah.
Izzy on the feet generally was outpointing Jan. A couple of the big differences I thought though. Number one, Izzy's strikes didn't seem to have the same effect that they did down at middleweight.
yeah,
Even when Izzy hit him with the jump spinning back kick, with those cross counters over the top, even landed a couple of head kicks here and there, targeted the legs. It just there didn't seem to be accumulation. And I think another problem is that Izzy seemed a little cautious, a little laid back, and not exactly anxious to exploit a lot of the openings that were presented to him in the fight, like Jan reaching for his jabs,
But I
or
am
like
so
Jan checking every
convinced.
time Izzy feinted a low kick.
But I
Okay.
am so convinced. Sorry, David. Sorry.
No. You can go ahead.
I was just saying, I am so convinced Jan is like a Southpaw's nightmare. So I was just so shocked as he spent so much time in Southpaw.
He
Because,
didn't get a lot done from Southpaw. Sorry, Jan didn't get a lot down from Southpaw.
but
Yeah,
Jan,
no,
but the
that's what I'm
problem is
saying.
that Izzy just couldn't get a rhythm going when he got into Southpaw. Because Jan, even though he bit hard, he bit in such a way where he was still responsible. So what ends up happening is Izzy can only really attack him with maybe a long jab. And then, oh wait, Jan's also got like a comparable reach. So now all of a sudden they're playing a jab for jab game. And
Izzy's patience seemed to be his downfall as well. Like the openings were there, and he just didn't commit to them as much with reckless abandon. I think out of not reckless abandon, but out of cautiousness, maybe just
Yeah.
cautiousness for the power of Jan. And
Yeah.
Jan was paralyzed in a lot of ways with the feints. I agree, but in the first couple of rounds, there were a few weapons that I think troubled Izzy. Not troubled him, but Jan was landing that jab to the body with consistency. Really failed to, expand off of it and score something else. I would have maybe liked to have seen him go back up top to the head after the jab to the body. But that's the thing. When you're dealing with a striker as tricky as Israel Adesanya, he probably felt lucky just to get through that one jab to the body.
right,
You
but
know,
the other thing is
but-
though, sorry, Dave, go. I'm cutting off.
Telling me, Michael.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, just jumping off what you said. First of all, we've all been in. Well, I feel like I've been in there where the only thing you feel like there's one strike you feel like you can land, and you focus on that strike, and you're just happy to score that strike. That's what I got from the body shots for Jan, the jabs specifically. Like I felt like in the stand-up battle, as you already said, like he was biting on so many fates. I thought Israel Adesanya, he was using his range really well. I don't know if I would say like he didn't have like the same power, but I would say like he was definitely cautious, just because of Jan's power. I think like he kind of underplayed it going into the fight, but in reality, if you look at the fight, he was really worried about the counter, like really, really worried about the counter.
Specifically that left hook, because
Specifically the left hook.
because
Um,
Izzy wanted to cut to the right a lot and he just couldn't. That flat step he likes doing? He wanted to cut to Jan's right, Jan's left, and he just was not willing.
And I wanted to say this also, just to counter your point, Michael. The reason I wouldn't even blame it necessarily on the stance is because, I actually think Israel did switch stances almost like constantly throughout the fight. So I don't think it's fair to say like, oh, he couldn't get off in like southpaw, because he was switching the entire fight pretty much.
I just noticed that he was a lot more successful on the feet in orthodox, specifically with the jab and the cross counter over the top.
That's also where Jan had his lands as well, though, in orthodox, right?
Yeah,
and
fair.
I think that, to me, if I had to describe this overall fight as like a narrative, what I would say is it wasn't a mastery of Israel Adesanya's weapons that he brings to the game by Jan. I felt like in a lot of ways he was still kind of outclassed on the feet and was able to eke by based on odd successes here and there, and then his physical advantages.
I've got some.
I'll also say though, when Jan did faint though, Jan did get Izzy too. So it's not like this like.
When did Jan faint? I don't know. I just feel like.
So Jan would do this kind of like stutter step, and then pop out the right straight. And what would happen is Izzy actually likes to switch stances to evade it. And Izzy would switch southpaw whenever Jan wanted him to. So if you go back and watch, specifically did that a lot in the second round because Izzy likes to. That's why he gets that like nice like hook counter he likes to do off the lean back. He switches his stance and then throws that hook. And he got Jan a couple times, but Jan feinted it early, and I thought he should have did that.
Is he targeted?
I was just gonna. Sorry, go on.
Oh no, I thought some of Izzy's targeting of the body was interesting as well.
Yeah,
man,
no.
as far as the ground game went in the later rounds, though, Izzy in the fourth round seemed to have been playing it a little bit conservatively from guard, from half guard. Understandably so, because you don't want to take a big risk and necessarily get stood up. But the power and size differential seemed noticeable. I mean, from the takedown, when Jan shot in under that left hook, he baited Izzy out. Not baited him necessarily, but he knew Izzy was going to throw that left hook, I'll say, and shot in under it. And it was one of those where I think a smaller opponent might have been able to get their hips back and create enough resistance to put in an underhook or an overhook and either get some separation or pull you up on their hips. But when Jan hit those hips and that takedown in the fourth round, it just seemed like a freight train hitting Izzy, where it just drove you want your hips low to the floor or sprawling back up in the air, and his hips just folded in half and he was driven to the floor with seemingly no issue, right? Yeah. Izzy didn't look dangerous enough for me.
No.
Real quick, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Izzy was playing it safe for me as well, and I think it was because he knew that Jan was not going to go away like his other opponents. Like, you guys were hitting it all. You guys hit all the right points. Izzy knew that he was not going to go. That Jan was not going to go away. But me and Michael had this discussion after the fight, and you guys are saying, and you're kind of saying the same thing that Michael was saying, Stefano, in terms of Izzy was playing it safe. I just think he just didn't know what to do down there. I
wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that he didn't know what to do.
Because they even said it during the fight. If you heard, like, Izzy should have put the bottom of his feet on Jan's hips, push him out. He had an opportunity to a few times, and he just didn't do it. What?
Sorry, go ahead.
And I think that was because he was just not skilled enough to think of it.
Yeah, it seemed like it seemed like the. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't think it was a skill thing. I generally think it was more of a fatigue thing. I think by the time Jan landed a successful takedown, we're talking about the 3 minutes into the fourth round, also 2-3 minutes into the fifth round as well. Like, they've been doing like the tactical stand-up game for the entire time. Where, to be fair, Izzy's been the aggressor. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. Just to add on the point, I also think,
is it a fatigue thing or is it a strength thing?
I disagree with you both. And a strength thing, because I think like once Jan got a hold of it.
So doesn't that culminate into skill, like body positioning?
No, yeah, I think was playing it conservative, and what ends up happening is when, like, Stefano, we roll all the time, and when Stefano's kicking my ass, Stefano doesn't make a mistake, and I need to capitalize on the mistake. So if Jan's playing it conservative, and he's not giving Izzy a chance to, like, capitalize off of those mistakes, what are you really going to do to stand back up?
I agree more with that. I think Izzy could have been benefited a little more on the mat with, and to be fair, Jan did a good job of passing, controlling, progressed to mount, late in that fifth round. I think one problem is that Izzy, again, from his back, didn't seem dangerous. And standing up is one thing you can absolutely do. And it's something that you can definitely attempt. But if your only option is to stand up, especially against a stronger opponent. It's difficult because in those scrambles, if you're trying to create scrambles and stand up, get your feet on the hips, kick off, find your way to the cage, fight the hands, get an underhook in, right, and then maybe shuck and separate. It requires a fair bit of strength. People don't realize that, but scrambling takes physicality and athleticism. And I think what you can be aided by if you're on the bottom, and I get the mindset of a championship fighter in that late round, and all you want to do is get up to a place where you can maximize your advantages. And so you're of one mind, and that's I need to get up. You got to be a little trickier than that. It's a little obvious. It's a little obvious when you're like, I just need to stand up. There's a trifecta of sweep, stand up, and submit. And sometimes maybe let's say Izzy had more active hips and attempted an armbar from bottom, creates space where Jan pulls up. Well, hey, look, now he
threw up a half-hearted
That's what I'm
triangle.
saying. He looked like he didn't even know how.
No, that's not true because he threw up a half-hearted.
Wait. He didn't look like he didn't know how to execute a submission from the bottom.
No, because
I wouldn't say that he didn't know how, that he didn't even attempt it.
Yeah.
I don't think he looked out of his element.
Triangle.
Like he was doing some of the correct things as far as pummeling for underhooks on the bottom, right? There was a weird part in side control where, it looked a little weird where he was kind of holding the head and holding on.
All right.
Maybe Jeremy, you're onto something. You're not completely wrong. Jeremy's not completely wrong here.
No, you know what? I think Jeremy has a point in terms of there was seemingly a skill advantage for Jan on the ground. I think that was undeniable.
But how much of that is that because Jan's a legit black belt?
He didn't look outclassed on the ground, though. That's the thing.
Yeah,
he looked.
It wasn't. We've seen so many fights, so many grappling fights where the dude, where it's two black belts and one of the black belts being completely outclassed, and it wasn't that.
Black belts and they're black belts.
It looked like just a heavier dude against a skinnier guy who just wasn't as experienced in grappling. I
even think it's more so one guy was way more conservative and trying to get positions, and another guy was trying to get his ass back up and not go for sweeps. He threw up a half-hearted triangle. It was half-hearted though, and then sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I don't really want to focus too much on the grappling because I think Jan definitely won the grappling exchanges hands down. What I will say though is Jan did exactly what we wanted Paulo Costa to do, exactly what we've been saying everybody should do against Adesanya, which is make it dirty, switch it up. Don't just stand there and play the outside tactical Mortal Kombat game with Adesanya.
I disagree.
No. Wait. To be fair, I think he did do that for the first 3 rounds, and that's why he got beaten. But once he stopped doing that and started making a little bit more dirtier, not dirtier, but in terms of switching it up, I think that's when he started having more success. And then just secondly, I just want to say, I thought Adesanya won that fight. Personally, I've watched it twice, and I still think Adesanya won the first, the second, and the third round.
There's a case for that.
I give Jan the 4th and the 5th, even if you give it a 10-8.
That 10-8 was ridiculous. That 10-8 was
I would see a 10-8 in there. So I don't know how we can get in a 49-45 card or 49-46.
Those judges should be taken to Congress because that could have. Because what I was trying to explain to Stefano too earlier, because I saw him earlier today, was let's say Israel Adesanya won that 3rd round definitively, right? 10-9, but definitively, right? And they still but the rest of the fight went the same, right? And you gave Jan a 10-8 for that 5th round. That means this is a draw and Jan's still the champion, right? In a hypothetical world, let's say alternate universe. So that means you robbed Israel Adesanya of a win in that alternate universe. You know what I'm saying? And this is the problem I have with judging because again, you get one look, right? But at the same time, in what universe is that a 10-8?
There's no way that last round is a 10-8 because what damage? Jan did a really good job of position, of controlling the position and controlling Adesanya. And honestly, I think the work he did in the 4th round, even attempting the takedown in the 3rd round where Adesanya had to get up, I think that slowly started to fatigue Adesanya, which started to make him a little bit slower in the stand-up, which made it easier for Jan to land a couple of shots. But especially like as the rounds played on, but I don't know. I just feel like,
But
to
you know what I
say
will
that
say though?
10-8, like he
Yeah,
didn't do anything when you got him. And I'm sounding like a fan, and I'm not being a fan, but he got on top of him. He landed a few shots off the top. He didn't cut him open or anything.
Oh, David,
I don't remember
right.
him throwing up any submissions. But to your point, Jeremy, I don't remember Jan throwing up too many submissions or anything like that.
Yeah. No, David, you're right. I think that Izzy has just as much of a case of winning it. Because if it went either way, I wouldn't have been mad. But I think it's just the fact that Izzy looked so debilitated. Like, not debilitated, but it just looked like he kind of gave up a little bit in my eyes, like when he was on the ground. Like, he, like kind of like what you guys are saying. He just stopped kind of going for stuff. But I think that's why the judges kind of swayed to Jan's.
but not to 10-8 though.
Well,
Like,
yeah, I don't agree
think
with the 10-8. I don't agree with the 10-8.
Sorry, go ahead.
No worries. I don't agree with the 10-8. And just to give a quick assessment for why I think maybe they favored Jan for the win, because I could see at the end, I was like, I really don't know who's going to win. But as we were waiting for that decision, I thought it's probably Jan. And here's why. Even though I think that you could make a solid case for Adesanya winning, even though I enjoyed this fight. This is going to sound like an odd statement. I enjoyed this fight, but I was equally disappointed in it. And I was disappointed because, like I said, Izzy never really got going and was never really able to establish his narratives and game plans that typically make him very successful. Mm-hmm. And Jan, in a sense, kind of won by, it was a very close fight where it looked like it was a stalemate for the most of it, even though, rounds have to be scored 10-9. So 10-9 Izzy in 1, 10-9 Izzy in 2, 10-9 Izzy in 3. And I think that's absolutely the case. But Jan definitely had the more dominant looking success in rounds 4 and 5, which is why I'm not saying I necessarily think he deserves it. He may not. But I think that's kind of what the judges were thinking going into that, and maybe they gave him the second round as well. But yeah, I just felt disappointed because I don't think we saw a full.
And here's my question, because I think let's take the 4th and 5th round, because I think that's undeniably close to Jan. So the 1st and the 3rd, if we compared those 3 rounds to, let's say, the Romero fight, is there a significant difference, in terms of the outclassing of
I
personally
gave Jan the second.
It wasn't close for the first 3 rounds. I have a problem. No, that's not. I wouldn't say issue, but that's the one thing I would say with Stefano's statement is without the takedowns in the 4th and the 5th. This was a pretty one-note performance where, Adesanya wasn't going, as he usually does. We didn't have a flashy knockdown or knockout or anything, but he wasn't getting beaten on the feet. He was winning.
Honest, David, I'll be honest, though. I gave Jan the second round. That's why I was thinking Jan won, because I gave Jan 2, 4, and 5.
Hey, cards on the table, though. Let's be honest here. Why David's so in favor of Israel Adesanya? Back in the old country, they used to share a change room back at the YMCA. So let's be clear about this.
Doing this fight, man. I didn't even get this fight in the first place, and this is part of the reason, because it's just anyway.
I'm glad he. As much as I love Izzy and as much as I wanted him to win, I'm glad he lost. I'm glad he lost, because let this be a lesson to Dana White and Brass. And I've been saying it since January. Let this be a lesson to them that you don't need to always put a champ, right? Sometimes it's okay to keep a guy in the middleweight or the light heavyweight or the lightweight division to build them, right? And build the division, because Jan Blachowicz is only as powerful in the fans' eyes as Glover Teixeira, as Ankalaev, as Misha Serkinov, and Alexander Rakic, and Thiago Santos, and et cetera. And they can only work if you build them.
Michael, I just wanted to say also that
after those guys, let's just quickly, David. I'm not gonna interrupt you, but I just want to say that after this, let's move on to the next fight, because we've got we're almost an hour in. We've got a big card to cover.
Yeah, I was just gonna say quickly that shouts out to Jan Blachowicz, man. If you look at his record, in his last 4 or 5 fights, he's beating what, like 3 guys who've come up from middleweight, thinking that it was sweet in light heavyweight. So he's proven, like, man, like there's not a joke here. And also, if you think about it, like he's beaten what, 2 unbeaten fighters in a row, or not unbeaten because Dominic Reyes lost to John Jones, but many people thought he won that fight. So, but he's beaten 2 unbeaten fighters, like 2 really hyped up guys in a row. Like we have to consider him as like one of the best fighters in the UFC right now, regardless of like division, because
No
he's got
question.
some skills, man. Like
No question.
nobody's beat Adesanya yet, and he had his game plan, he executed, and you gotta give him props for that.
No
So
question.
from Jan Blachowicz, the little engine that could, that despite inadequate promotion from the UFC, being overlooked and having not the greatest start to his UFC career, to the freight train that went off the rails a little bit. We've got our second title fight of, oh no, that was the third one, and David's gone.
No, he's up there.
He's up
David,
there?
come
Okay.
back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I almost skipped over to the Peter Yan Aljamain Sterling one, but that was actually the third title fight of the evening. Our second title fight of the evening.
Dude.
Speaking of freight trains that can't be stopped,
Dude.
wow.
Oh
I
my
thought it would
God.
last
Like
longer
this
than it
fight,
did.
we can be brief.
We can be brief, not quite as brief as Amanda Nunes' performance, but wow.
Lord.
Amanda's got some power in those hands. Don't anyone don't let anyone tell you any different.
Dude. She
From
could
the
knock out
second-
an elephant with that right hand, man. Like,
Honestly, yeah, when she hit Megan with that overhand over the top, it looked like she'd been electrocuted. It looked like that scene in Home Alone when Marv and Harry are trying to like break into Macaulay Culkin's house and they put their hand on the dryer that's been electrocuted. You know?
oh,
Oh,
man.
you guys were making electric slide jokes all yesterday.
Oh yeah. Dude. I remember Jeremy was singing the electric slide and I was doing the Megan Anderson dance. Full disclosure, okay, that happened.
Listen, Megan Anderson, we don't want to be disrespectful because we know she's had a tumultuous backstory. She seems like a lovely person. And to a large degree, this isn't her fault. This is a make-believe division. And in any other division, she could have some fights where she could grow and mature and get used to the caliber of fighter of the UFC, work her way up to it. But she just looked lost from the moment. A lack of experience, I think, is one thing that definitely plagued her. Not necessarily a lack of overall
The other thing is, though,
competition experience, but a lack of high-level experience. Because a lot of people, when you're hurt, the mark of an experienced fighter is that you know how to react to that. You tie up, you backpedal, you feint, you throw, Jack Slack has a really good article on this, on what to do when you're hurt, how to survive. And Megan, poor woman, from the second that she hit, she is like, got this, oh shit, this is real look on her face, backed herself right up to the cage, and then just became a scarecrow, being shot with an AK-47. Just target practice, essentially, from that moment on.
Dude, I always say this, like, I don't think it's a Megan issue. It's just, for whatever reason, when girls get hit by Amanda Nunes, it happened to Cyborg. Cyborg looked and was like, what in the hell is this?
And Cyborg spit down and swung for her life.
Yeah. Because she essentially got cracked and was scared. And look, as much as Ronda Rousey's striking is bad, we have to understand why she looks so ugly in there, because Amanda hit her with a right, and Amanda's just got power like that, man. It's just,
how about that submission at the end, getting fancy up in here.
That's the part that kills me, because you could tell, like, first of all, I agree with you guys, man. She hits so hard, like it's literally like scrambles brains in there. Like, girls are literally like, I don't know what to do next. And you could see, because you have Megan Anderson shooting for the takedown on Amanda Nunes, gets stuffed immediately. Like, I've never seen a stuff like that. And
stuffed and thrown halfway across the octagon.
Literally stuffed and thrown backwards. And then
I don't think I've seen something like that since Brock Lesnar and Cain Velasquez, where Brock Lesnar does the spin. Remember?
Yeah.
yeah,
comical. I mean, yeah, that submission was a cool one as well. I just want to point it out briefly. It's those triangles from turtle position. and from the back are things that you tend to see more in judo than BJJ. For whatever reason, very, very popular in judo, because in judo you're not allowed the guillotine. So a lot of people will hit a triangle from a sprawl in judo and they get very good at it. And that back triangle is obviously one you'd see more in gi sports, where it's a lot easier to have a handle where you're not necessarily going to fall over the top. But Amanda's like, let me style on this girl. I don't want to hit her anymore. I'm going to pull off this fancy triangle from the back. And from there, she hit that arm bar, which turned into like a modified Americana, and there was just so much torque on that arm to where I'm like, God, Amanda, you didn't want to hit her, but now you're going to break her arm? Like, yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah, she had her arm looking like my arm. It was terrible. Sorry, go on.
She's a merciful mercenary, Amanda Nunes.
That's what I'm saying.
I like
when
that.
she stuffs the takedown, like she could have literally like clobbered her to like smithereens, because she had her head down, similar-ish to the Peter Yan Sterling one, where like her head is down and Amanda's basically got her by the collar and can do whatever she wants. And at one point she has her back and is like clobbering her, but he's like, you know what? Let me, as you said, Stefano, let me just like style on this girl. And pulls out.
Man, like I don't have too much to say about this fight. It was literally just another day at the office. Beautiful moment for Amanda Nunes. Brought her daughter, bring your daughter to work day. It was just a nice moment. Like
there's an adorable moment at the end where Megan Anderson and Amanda Nunes were like, Amanda Nunes brought her daughter over and they're kind of like playing with the little girl. It's like a very human moment. They're playing with the little girl and stuff.
Wait till we're off the pod. I've got some thoughts about that one.
Yeah.
Wow, David, I thought you were progressive. This
No,
guy
I'm
over here. What do you think? What do you think? Gay people shouldn't be allowed to have children?
Not about Amanda Nunes.
That's
Shout out to
disgusting.
Amanda
What's wrong with
Nunes.
you? They're a happy, loving couple.
You're killing me, man. No,
That's
shout out to
David.
Amanda
That's
Nunes
disgusting.
and
Yeah,
the
we will have words off air.
love
as a
is
matter
love
of
is
fact.
love is love.
We will have words off air, David.
Oh God.
So, anyways, I one thing that came to my mind when I was thinking about this fight afterwards, if I was thinking about a blueprint of a fighter to beat Amanda Nunes, now it's not like she's better than her competition, to be fair, but it's not like we haven't seen flaws in her game. For example,
She's definitely beatable.
she's beatable. She's competent on the feet, but we've seen her shoot panic takedowns against GDR. But to be fair, not panic, but you know what I mean. She tires because of the amount of horsepower she brings to these equations. So she, in the later rounds, if she can't get you out of there, she's not her full self. I like the blueprint of a fighter, kind of like a Kat Zingano. Not Kat Zingano now, because she obviously her best days are behind her. But Kat Zingano, who has a win over Amanda Nunes in the past, someone who's very durable, someone who can get through that early hailstorm, and then when Amanda's tired, grind her out in those later rounds and really put it on her in the championship rounds. That, I think, is going to be kind of the blueprint to beat Amanda. Durability, grappling advantage. I favor the grapplers against her rather than strikers, to be honest with you.
I do not, sir. Grappling is her forte. She comes from that BJJ background, if I'm not mistaken. She knew how to, she is primarily a Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioner, as opposed to a striker, despite her being such a crazy boxer. So I actually think you would be better off
crazy hitter, not a crazy boxer. She's not a super sophisticated.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say
it's a one.
She's a hitter.
Technician, but she can. Yeah, you're right. She is a crazy hitter, as opposed to a technician. But she's got some technique in there. I mean, she's not.
She has technique. She just maximizes her ability to time that cross counter over the top, pair it with low kicks.
I was just gonna say, I would see the perfect person being a Valentina Shevchenko.
Me too.
But bigger, bigger Valentina Shevchenko, somebody who could out technique her on the feet and hang with the grappling. You know what I mean?
Got it. So Valentina, but Brock Lesnar size.
well, in fairness, I firmly still believe that Valentina beat her in that second fight. So, why not Valentina? Why
No,
not?
there's someone else. I really think there's someone else that we're overlooking that hasn't got her crack at Amanda. A big, durable grappler capable of fighting at 45 and 35. A woman who had her day in the UFC, but now is outside of it and is waiting to make her return. Cindy Dandois, we need you.
I knew he was gonna-
Come back and end the tyrannical reign of Amanda Nunes over the 35 and 45 division. Cindy Dandois, grappling judo extraordinaire. She will be the one to beat Amanda Nunes. Mark my words. She's bringing the Belgian chocolate back, and she doesn't need her OnlyFans anymore.
One last point though. I think the featherweight division's pretty much dead. Like,
Wrap it up.
yeah, they're Amanda Nunes is going to be up one.
Wrap it up. We can talk about this in another time. I don't know.
I meant wrap it up as far as the featherweight division. but yeah, I think maybe it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for after Amanda retired to wrap up the featherweight division. It could be like 55, maybe like PFL or Invicta or someone else would kind of take up the mantle of preserving women's 145. And there's money to be made in those organizations. Maybe Bellator. Bellator kind of did that with 125. Their 125 is a little deeper than the UFC's. And someone else could be the stewards of 45. And then maybe one day when the UFC realizes that these promotions have done the work in kind of nurturing and developing the growth of 45, they'll take it back. But for now, it just doesn't seem like it's ready for the UFC.
I can agree with
that. So next. This was a classic Rocky IV matchup. Peter Yan versus...
Stop, he's already dead.
Stop. It was like Ivan Drago versus Apollo Creed. But in all seriousness, I think a lot of this fight as well, we could have never predicted the ending. A lot of the narratives we thought going into this fight played out. Aljo being super active, but in the end not being able to maintain that pace over the later rounds. Early going, I liked some of the work from Aldo, how he was able to take advantage of that very high guard of Yan and then flurry him to the cage and work the body. His body work looked good. His kicks looked good. He was active in the wrestling exchanges, but man, Peter Yan knows how to manage his energy. And he made Yan work. Sorry, do you mind if I go on for just a second more, guys?
Yeah, I'm rambling.
But one of the things I noticed, ignoring the unfortunate end to the fight that Yan did that I really liked, he was active. A lot of times people, when they get to grappling ranges, are like, and they don't want to be there, they're doing everything that they can to get out and maintain range. And Yan, because he had the need to maintain pressure and forward movement, it's hard to maintain forward movement and pressure and avoid grappling exchanges. What he did was, I know I'm going to be in these grappling exchanges, but I'm going to make them more taxing for you. You're going to try and put the grind cycle on me? No, motherfucker. You have to stay here with me. And he would hit those beautiful foot sweeps on Aljamain Sterling, those Muay Thai sweeps. And Aljo would get up with urgency and be like, I have to stay stuck to this guy like glue. And so he'd have to make up ground then and keep hustling to get back into those exchanges. And in that round 4, it was showing. Aljo looked shot.
Yeah, I was going to say that. That's the thing that really surprised me. First of all, you know what? No, let me. First of all, Aljamain Sterling. Diverse striking. His striking was way better than I think we gave him credit for on the preview.
A little forced though. No, guys,
Pardon?
like a little forced though. Like he didn't have to.
It was forced. I'm not gonna lie. It was a little forced, and the
Very
pace.
fidgety.
Yeah, fidgety.
Fidgety, tentative, unable to really sit down on his punches. Even though the shots were getting through to the body, it didn't look like Yan was too effective.
But you know what, though? Sometimes that fidgety style works a little bit to keep you.
And it was.
Sometimes it works a little bit. I use it sometimes when I'm sparring. Like, if you need to get out of the way because you knew that Yan had had the superior striking. If you need to get out of the way, and it helps with counters and stuff. So I think that's why his striking was better.
But the problem with being fidgety, though, is that when you are like that and you're forcing it and you're not flowing, you're getting tired off of these movements, like these wasted movements. And I feel like that's half the reason why Aljo gasped by round 3, right?
Partly, yeah, but I also think, separate from that, first of all, separate from that, Jan's counters were really good.
Yeah.
For all the activity that Sterling gave and all the weird stuff he was doing with the spinning back elbows and the weird combinations where he would go like a hook and then an uppercut and then like a teep or something like that. He was throwing some really weird stuff in there. For all of that, like I felt like Jan was the more effective fighter in the first 2 to 3 rounds. And then as Stefano said, the sweeps. By the time Sterling is shooting because he's losing the stand up, Jan is not even shooting. Sterling is initiating the grappling. Jan is flipping the script, sweeping him off his feet. Sterling is staying on the floor, waiting for Jan to come play jiu-jitsu with him. Jan is just firing leg kicks, firing near illegal axe kicks. It was kind of like by the third, fourth round, it was like, okay, there's this clear skill gap here when it comes to on the feet. But what I would say though is, man, Jan's takedown defense amazing. Jan's sweeps.
How about his takedown offense? Yeah, his sweeps, the suplexes he was hitting early in the fight. Sexy suplexes. Man. Look, I mentioned this before. Expect Aljo, and tell me I didn't say this, expect Aljo to tire if he doesn't get success with his takedowns. Because that, the ground game, as much as Aljo's striking has come along, the ground game is very much his safe space, where if he can get there, if he has success in that range, he's going to feel confidence. And his style looked very attrition-based in this. He was hoping to, when it got to those later rounds, he'd be able to take enough out of Peter Yan where he wouldn't be there, which is why the investment in the body was good and the takedowns were good. But Yan was out-wrestling him. Yan, in most of these grappling exchanges, was ending up on top. And that, I think, is what took a lot out of Aljo. Because I think if Aljo was able to get to grappling range and take Peter Yan down, we're looking at a very different fight, and I don't think he's quite as gassed.
He couldn't take him down, and he wouldn't play jiu-jitsu with him. It was almost like, okay, I'm going to make you focus on the parts that you're worse than me at, if that makes any sense.
How about that? First of all, another good thing that Yan did is that Sterling forced him into a fight in the early rounds, which Yan likes to sit back, not give those early rounds away, but just,
download data.
And Sterling forced him into a fight. Sterling was putting it on him. Remember when Yan dropped him with that cross in the early going, sat him down on his bum? I'm like, is this over? Force him into a fight at your own discretion.
Yeah. The one thing I would say, though, is that for all of the activity, I don't think Sterling was actually landing that much on Yan. I think the leg kicks were good, but apart from that, I don't think many of those shots were actually getting through. Yan's high guard was pretty good.
They were getting through. It's just that the strength advantage and the power difference was just so vast. Yan looked so strong. Some of these sweeps was just throwing Aljo on his head. He was getting turned inside out. And, it goes to show you kind of how half of fighting is strength and conditioning sometimes, because Jesus.
It's strength conditioning, and let's not forget discipline and patience. Yan, one thing that I find very interesting about him is that on the feet, he's a very interesting synthesis between boxing and Muay Thai. The stance switching, the precision of his jab cross, how he's able to find counters. What's that?
His stance switching. Unlike and just if you rewatch the fight, compare Sterling's stance switching to Jan's stance switching. The commentator even said it
Jan's was efficient,
totally
no
different.
Wasted movement on it. But his defense to me is all Muay Thai. It's
so good, man.
It's high guard. It's passing kicks to the side. It's being there as a presence. He's not really slipping a ton.
He's checking leg kicks,
kicks. He's hand fighting. His defense is very Thai, whereas his footwork is very boxing, and he's very precise with his straight punch. He's just a weird synthesis of striking that I don't think we've seen up until this point.
I'm
a big fan.
Yeah, it's so.
He was really good, but man, that illegal knee.
I was gonna say.
What a shame. What a shame.
It's a shame. It was a bad way to end it, but you know what? I'm glad it ended that way because, come on, man. We shouldn't be continuing fights after knees like that. And I feel like I've heard a lot of I was on Twitter. I immediately ran to Twitter because that was like the hypest moment that the UFC's produced in ages. Immediately ran to Twitter, and people were saying, "Yeah, I've been an advocate for, removing the downed fighter rule." And it's just like, wait. So you want people to be taking like running knees? I guess what's the difference? But like, I don't know. I just felt like I didn't like the
Yeah.
shot, and
Like,
I wouldn't want to
I
see
heard
more
that
of that in the UFC.
I heard that Jan's corner told him to deliver a strike. Do you
Yeah,
guys know any
Yeah, so
truth to that?
Habib basically told DC that in Russian, his coach told him, um, now what it translates to is hit him, hit him. It's not knee him, it's hit him. And I guess Jan took that as knee him because the head's down and he's waiting, and Jan's waiting for the hand to get up. It's very similar to what Greg Hardy did to Alan Crowder, I always say, where the hand, you're timing them as they go up to hit them with something hard. And I guess that's what happened, right? Like,
Uh,
if I'm honest about this, Jan, to my knowledge, doesn't have a history of fouls, so
yeah.
I'm willing to, as obvious as it was, I'm willing to write this off as he trusted in his corner and threw the strike, and it was a mistake. Now, as far as Aljo goes, I don't fight. Even if, let's say, hypothetically, I don't think he was. I think he was genuinely very hurt. But let's say he's acting. I don't care. Even if he's compromised 20% and he could still hypothetically fight on, you shouldn't have to fight on compromised a whole 20% in a title fight because of an illegal strike. I shouldn't have to fight on. This was done to me illegally, and it's not my obligation to fight through damage I incurred through an illegal strike. I'm
No,
sorry.
Stefano, but you're a real man. You have to go out on your shield.
Yeah, exactly.
Fighting,
I've got to
man.
get brain trauma, and I've got to concuss myself further so I can't remember my kids' names when I hit the age of 40.
Crazy, man. And just further on that, why are we doing an interview with Aljamain Sterling?
He
after the
requested it.
fight?
He
I don't care what he
I don't
requests.
care.
He's concussed. He's concussed. The interviewer, the UFC media rep, goes up to the doctor and asks, "Oh, can he do an interview?" The doctor waves her off and says, "No, we can't do an interview. He's concussed."
There's a good chance he doesn't even remember that interview.
Like, come
Like,
on,
there are
what a-
cases where fighters, after getting knocked out, will, like, the next thing that they know, they wake up in the change room. They're like, where am I? What happened? And even though they came to and they were like conscious, they talked to people in the cage, walked around, talked to the doctor, talked to the commissioner, walked to the back, talked to the coaches, and then all of a sudden they just they're in the cage. They're like, sorry, they're in the back room. They're like, what happened? I don't remember any of that. So it's like, come on.
It's just like totally irresponsible, man. And like, if you stop the fight for an illegal knee, saying that it's because of a concussion, and the doctors had to intervene, like, why are you still like going against?
I think
what
Justin
the doctors
Gaethje had a good point on this. Is that Justin Gaethje says it should never be up to the fighter if they can continue, right?
Yes.
I think Justin Gaethje said it best, right? And by the way, let me just say on this podcast, the views of Michael Asiffo, TJ Dillashaw's a fucking idiot, right? And that's me speaking, because there's lines that you don't cross, and the line of whether or not somebody's faking an injury, as a fighter, you should know better. You're not some guy on Twitter with 50 followers. You're a guy who, by the way, tested positive for EPO, right? So you should know what it's like to be kicked when you're down, and then you're coming on Twitter trying to sell a fight. I don't care if you're trying to sell a fight. It's stupid.
I personally don't love what he said, but I personally can't get too mad at it because I get it. He's trying to throw some shade, get his name in the conversation, and get a big fight. It's not as bad for me as John Jones's comments about Anthony Smith, right? But man, I don't hate it.
What did John Jones say?
Oh, after Anthony Smith's house got broken into, when his wife and kids were there, and Anthony Smith, unarmed, beat the shit out of this guy, John Jones is like, that's why you should have a gun, because maybe a real man like me would break into your house and you wouldn't be able to do anything about it. It's like, come on. There's scummy, then there's scummy, and that's...
It's just like
a wise British man once said, scummy mummy and water, the air goes to you, love.
Well, I just think that, like, it's just one of those things where it's so dumb. Like, why, as a fighter, why are you questioning? Like, you know what's like to get hit like that, right? And you know how illegal that was, and how everyone says the things you don't see coming are the ones that hurt.
Well,
Does
didn't
anyone
he
feel?
didn't he throw an illegal knee in practice that ended Chris Holdsworth's career?
Oh, exactly.
So
Exactly.
TJ, come on, tone deaf, buddy.
Right. And so for me, it's like you've been there, you've been kicked while you're down, and now you want to sell. You want all of a sudden you want to sell. Like I don't get it. And then Cody Garbrandt goes, "You better take that belt." It's like, what are you guys doing? What
I know, man.
What reality are we living in? What reality are we living in?
It's like machismo thing, man. It's just like, come on, the guy got kneed in the head. Like, he didn't choose to get kneed in the head. I'm pretty sure if he had the option to move his head or take that shot, he would have moved his head. So like come on, like, don't make it seem like now he's like pretending to. He doesn't even want the belt. He's saying he wants a rematch, and that's another thing. It's
I
way
don't think
more
that
messed
rematch
up.
goes any differently.
I don't think.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. But like,
but
the point is,
like, don't you think it's messed up that this guy wins? Wait, first of all, is fouled, wins, and after winning is so distraught because of the stigma of taking taking a DQ or whatever, that he doesn't even feel comfortable enough to like take the belt. I get it, it's a pride thing or whatever, but like, he feels he has to do an interview just so that he can save his rep and make sure people know he wasn't pretending or whatever. Like, come on, like, it's messed up that Sterling. This is a guy who like literally is college educated. Like,
it's not.
it's like one
the
of us.
players.
It's one of us gets kneed in the head, and then we go on and like feel like because like we got kneed in the head, we have to go on and save our own like rep. Like, it's super messed up. Like, the culture works that way. I don't know.
Can I bring up a really stupid take I heard as well on this? Joe Rogan's whole take, like, I don't think the belt should be won like that. Why? Why not?
If you do something illegal, you should lose the fight.
Yeah.
There
Why shouldn't the belt change hands because of that? I don't understand.
I heard an interesting one. Someone, I can't remember who, but someone said the title should be vacated at that point. Like, there should just not be a champion.
Why? Who cares? Give the belt to Aljo.
Like, I can see that. I can see the vacant.
It's interesting. I like the vacant idea a little, but I don't know what the answer is to that. Like, I think a DQ works. I don't care specifically.
But then again, in what circumstances? Let's say like it's a case where the dude is just firing low blows. 10 warnings, he doesn't stop, just firing low blows. Or
then champion.
After the bell of the first round, he's just landing like shots. The ref is jumping in and trying to take him off, and he's just still landing shots. Then shouldn't he be DQ'd, and shouldn't he lose his title then? Or like, how does it work? Is it just the fact that this specific foul you don't like is the reason why the rule for DQs shouldn't exist? Or
yeah, I mean, look, these things are going to happen. Unsavory results are going to happen. You know, fights are going to finish that you don't entirely agree with.
And I'll be on. Sorry, go ahead.
It doesn't feel conclusive to you, but look, it is what it is, and you know, we need consistency in the ways that we would in the ways in which we evaluate and adjudicate the sport, and a DQ is a win. Quite frankly, there's nothing more to it.
You know what's kind of funny on a kind of slightly different point? Peter Yan was kind of pushing the limits of what he could do in that fight all throughout the fight. Whenever Aljo was on his back and he did that little stomp, it got dangerously close to Aljo's head. Like,
but axe kicks on the ground are nothing new.
In the second
axe kick a
round,
lot,
he
though.
also does that. Well, first of all, that's one of his techniques. Is on the break of any kind of clinch, he loves to throw a knee or a kick or some kind of thing. Usually because guys like have their head ducking down for whatever reason. Maybe he just like stuffed their takedown.
It's because he's so strong,
also,
he gets his head down.
A couple of times in this fight, he tries to throw the knee. I think there was one time in either the first or the second round where Aljo is downed and like he tries to throw the knee and he misses. Like, I'm not saying he's a dirty fighter, but like I agree.
But ultimately, you got to be smarter, and your lack of intelligence. I hate to say it about a great fighter, like a great martial artist, actually, like Peter Yan, but your lack of intelligence costed you the belt. And I think there's no illegitimacy of I'm forgetting it, Sterling being the champion.
No, you know what? I agree, but like at first I said it. Like I remember we were all watching together, and I said that knee was dirty, and I think he should get a suspension. And then after the Habib talks to DC and the whole thing, and I go, actually it was Steph's girl who said I could see it being an accident, and I remember at first I apologize at first going ah no. And then Habib goes, it was an accident. And then they say what happened. I was like, okay, I guess. So,
What, you don't respect it until a man says it, Michael?
Yeah,
That's what I
Mike.
got from that story.
Listen
no.
over
What
here.
my
We
point
have
is
we have a
that my point is
homophobe in David. We have a sexist in Michael.
100%.
Damn!
But
Wow.
anyway,
This is
You have a
this is
racist Stefano. Man, we have got the full
racist.
gamut.
Excuse me. I do a
Wow.
podcast every
Somebody
week with
should
two
check.
black men in which I put my cream in their coffee. So let's
Somebody
tell it
should
like
check outside for
no, hold
rating
on. But
pods.
I do want to say this point though is that I remember as much as we want to say, hey, Jan was dangerously close. I do think though Jan was trying to, he loves to try to push the limits of what he can and cannot do, right? But I do think Jeremy does make a good point. Fight IQ, knowing your rules, they go over in the back. Like the fight meeting is like literally the most annoying, but the most important thing every fighter does. We've all been in them.
I love
They
the fight
suck.
meeting.
Yeah.
I'll
They
tell you
suck.
why. Yeah,
But
I'll tell you why I love it
whether
because I
you
use it
believe-
as an opportunity just to selfishly get into this for a second. I use the fight meeting as an opportunity to break my opponent. So while I'm in the fight meeting, first of all, I'll just ask the stupidest, most ridiculous questions to make them think I'm fucking insane. I'll be like, ask the most specific technical questions about leg locks and whether they're allowed or not, just to drag it on and make my opponent as uncomfortable as possible. And while it's going the whole time, I'm just trying to make eye contact with my opponent, just like. I had a friend of mine, Paulie Fish. Shouts out to Paulie Fish of Toshido and 6MMA. He is like Paulie talks like this. He's like, yeah, back in the day when I was fighting in Cuff, there's this guy I was fighting. His name was Stephen White. And well, the reason why that guy lost is because there's only room for one White Stephen in Cuff. But he's like, his name was Stephen White. And we were at the rules meeting, and Paulie's an intense guy. Paulie's super intense. Like, he's a nice goofball once you get to know him, but I wouldn't want to be standing across from him. First of all, because he has ridiculous, like, inexplicable powers. He's got elastic bands in all his joints. And apparently before the fight, he'd, like, in the rules meeting, he kept staring at the guy dead in the eyes. And then the guy would, like, feel uncomfortable and try and, like, move out of the way. And Paulie would follow him, move out of the way, and just be like, yeah, so the guy snapped and like he lost the fight before it even started. But sorry, I couldn't resist rambling.
No, yeah. Do you guys
Anyway.
want to just talk about Makachev versus Dober real quickly? Because
Yeah.
All I'm gonna say is just they gotta reslap that. They're gonna rematch that Sterling versus Yan, and who knows how that's gonna go.
yeah.
Speaking of fights that need a rematch, Islam Makhachev versus Drew Dober. Ooh, let's
close
redo this one.
eh? Controversy.
Can I just say one thing? What is with? I thought it was initially. Remember when Habib threw up that armbar in Gaethje and didn't put his leg over the head? And I'm like, that's a very basic technical mistake. Why would he do such a thing? You know, everyone knows blue belts and up, you got to throw the leg over the head. And then the interview came out, and he's like, you know, I didn't want to break his arm in front of his family because he said he wouldn't tap, so I put him in the choke. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. He tried to bait him into the triangle. I guess that's a good explanation. And then in this fight, in round 2, I believe, Makhachev, when he went for that armbar, round 1, didn't throw the leg over the head. I'm like, is this just a Dagestani thing?
No, he's going
Guys, start throwing the leg over the head for the love of God, please. You need that to finish an armbar.
Not always.
Not always, but like he didn't finish the armbar as a direct result of this. Like,
yeah, it's a good point.
Like Drew Dober came up into him, and an otherwise flawless performance. I know I'm being nitpicky, but I feel like I'm playing conspiracy theorist here, where it's like, what's going on? My Dagestani friends out there, you're savages and you can fight better than I could ever dream of fighting. But would you mind throwing the leg over the head for the armbar so that you guys can get it a little more often?
Stefano, let me ask you though, like as a former judo practitioner, is that a judo thing where sometimes they go for the pillow juji and not like a regular juji gatami?
No, so like The not throwing the leg over the head thing is not necessarily is not a judo thing, I'd say, but I do know that judo guys tend to have a preference for that Russian belly down armbar. And on the belly down armbar, you want the shin across the back of the head instead of the leg in front of the head, because then you can use that as a point of leverage to pull the arm out. But when you're belly up, any way you slice it, you want either your far leg wedged underneath the head. You can do that a la Rory McDonald versus Mike Guzman, the Joker. Or in lieu of that, you absolutely need to have that leg over the head. You can't. You need to do it.
I know guys like to do.
It's so good.
Man, that's the one thing that stood out for me, because Dober, like, he kind of stood up. He did his thing on the ground. On the feet, but like once they hit the ground, like, man, like it looked like, how you have your Brazilian jiu-jitsu like teacher basically like showing you how to do the moves on like a dummy. No disrespect to Drew Dober, but it literally looked like he was just going through,
no resistance.
Like yeah, man, like it looked like he was just going through the positions, like.
And
Drew Dober looked talented. Drew Dober looks like a talented fighter, but I told you guys last night, like, it's crazy to me how you can be so talented, but then you could just be worlds away from, like, personally, I think I can bang with Division I athletes. I'm a Division III athlete, but I think I can bang with Division I football players. But it's like when it comes to fighting, it's like you can be the best person in your city or your gym, but then you could just be worlds away from somebody else, and it's like it's crazy to me. But like, but like you guys said, I mean, he should be fighting guys in the top 15, not guys, like Drew Dober who isn't ranked. I struggle to find like any kind of ranking of him or.
Well, like Qui-Gon Jinn said in The Phantom Menace, there's always a bigger fish. And I think that's, Jeremy's right. This played out very much there. And one of the things that impressed me about Makhachev's grappling was the first shot doesn't always work. And if you've grappled for any length of time, you know that your first takedown is not always going to be successful, even against inferior grapplers. What's going to work for you is chaining your takedowns together, and he did a great job of lower body takedowns when they didn't work, coming back to the upper body takedowns, attempting that hip toss back into foot sweeps. He hit that Ogoshi, that hip toss. Ooh, that was nice. That was a good one, am I right? Yeah. And takes a bit of a different approach from Khabib, as opposed to Khabib coming straight at you and using pressure. Makhachev will circle the cage, throw his kicks out there, and then when he's ready, he just commits to that shot, and then the rest of your round is on the back.
Unlike Khabib, though, also very comfortable taking you down and grinding you in the center of the cage. Doesn't have to use the cage. Like, he will take you down and just do his thing, and you'll have nothing to use to get back up, which I don't know which one is worse. Like the Khabib pressure where he's basically like smushing you into the cage and making your life a living hell, or where you feel like you're stranded in an island and there's nothing you can use to like leverage.
I don't know.
It's a whole different set of skills.
I think
if you're in the center of the cage, you better have a good offensive guard. If you're against the fence, you better know how to wall walk.
I feel like it's just a slightly too early to be making the Khabib, like not
they're best friends.
Not bad to make the Khabib comparisons, but to say this is the next Khabib, I feel like it's just a little too early.
Okay,
they're best friends though. They train together
in the division right now. Who's got the best jiu-jitsu in the division? Let's
not
Davi Ramos. Okay, yeah. Oh, let's see the Oliveira fight.
Oliveira, or maybe you could make a case that it's Beneil Dariush because he is a world champion and he just styled on Diego Ferreira.
Sure, I would like to see that fight. I would like
Ferreira Makhachev were booked in the past, and it
it was this close. Oh my god.
And just to wrap this up, how cool was that modified arm triangle choke there at the end, where you got to have a hell of a squeeze to pull that off. Normally, for those of you guys that don't know, when you get the arm triangle, you've got to hop over so that your head and body are on the same side applying the choke, so that you can use your head to drive that arm in and get that leverage on that side. And really, it's not much of a squeeze. It's much more of a compression downwards with a little bit of a squeeze. That was just a straight squeeze from the wrong side. Didn't even hop over, and he just squeezed, and you could see Drew Dober's face just.
Yeah.
It was turning purple. Like
It looked like he had an anaconda wrapped around his neck.
Yeah. Dude,
Crazy.
crazy.
Those Dagestanis are doing something different with the rest
Savage.
of them.
How did Hakeem Dawodu beat Zabir Tukugov after like watching this fight was like how in the hell does
I need to
anyone?
go back and watch it because there wasn't too much grappling, probably.
Yeah, but like he was
Not all
stopped.
Dagestanis are created equal, though.
I guess that's true. Although yeah.
Although
No,
there was another Dagestani fighting on this card, because we probably won't get time to talk about it in terms of Askar Askarov, and he essentially did the same thing to Benavidez.
Yeah, Benavidez was out grappled, and that surprised me thoroughly because Benavidez for a while in the grappling realm was untouchable, great scrambler, and he was just pinned to the mat for long portions. You guys want to rattle through these next few quickly?
Sure.
Santos and Rakic had a fun fight.
No, disagree. I thought this was a terrible fight.
David, I think you're a terrible fight.
I thought this was an awful fight. Super tentative, both of them. It looks like two guys who knew they could knock each other out with like the slightest gust of wind. Like they looked like they both knew they were dangerous, but at the same time, they didn't want to engage too much. Santos, I hesitate to say this point because I do think commentators affected my viewing of the fight the entire night. They had a lot of bias statement, but I think like Santos's knees, man, they don't look the same. He doesn't look as
he lost the step. He's definitely lost the step.
He used to like jump into his strikes. He's like lunge into it. He looked like Paulo Costa of the light heavyweight division, and now he just doesn't have the same
the problem is
his style was one that's very dependent on athleticism, and those styles tend to age a little bit poorer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's also
still look dangerous.
And his body kicks, they're just not as quick as they used to be. Like I don't know.
Like you tear 4 ligaments in one knee and 2 ligaments in the other.
So late in your career, yeah.
Fair. No, it's a marvel that he's even fighting, but I did not enjoy this one.
See, I knew he wasn't going to look good too. I know we said rapid fire. My bad. Go ahead.
Yeah, because there are a couple others that I know we're going to spend a lot of time on. Before we get into the Dominic Cruz one, I just want to bring up, did you guys see the Kai Kara France versus Rodrigo Bontorin fight?
Yes.
Potential comeback of the year already. Yeah. I mean, damn, Bontorin early in that round pitched a shutout, had great jiu-jitsu. A couple of times I'm like, this is done. He secured the body triangle, got the arm under the neck, and then as soon as they got back to the feet, Kai Kara France kept hitting that straight and noticed that Bontorin was ducking his head, modified it, turned it into not quite an overhand, but like a corkscrew cross, popped his head back up with that lead uppercut, and then boom, shut the lights off, and he face planted. And then there was that weird and hilarious ending where he did a lap around the ring and then came back to give him another hammer fist.
Yeah, I think it was just one of those,
misunderstanding.
Look, I gotta say though, Kai needed that one. He really needed that one.
Yeah.
So I was happy for him.
Good on him. And then finally, I guess we could touch on Benavidez. We touched on briefly. Dominic Cruz getting it done against Casey Kenny. He looked good. He looked less mobile, and the jab didn't seem to be as much of a factor. Casey Kenny working excellent cut kicks. Dominic Cruz's old tricks were there, some of them at least. The landing pad cross, as he calls it, was there, and was landing frequently to the body, and Kenny swinging at air. Cruz had success coming forward and blitzing. Fun fight. Cruz doesn't necessarily look back to his old form. A little bit more stationary. I
thought it was a little bit more stationary on purpose, maybe just so that he could like time Kenny a little bit better.
I think it's the leg kicks that did it, to be honest with you, because I think that inside cut kick just gave Dominic Cruz some trouble. Like he was limping after the fight. Fun
fight,
reason. Yeah, it was a good fight. Like I didn't hate it.
Yeah, the return of Dom Cruz. I anticipate.
How about that call out at the end though? Like
what's that?
He called
out of the monster guy.
Oh yeah, I looked that up. It was a weird one because apparently that guy's like, I don't know.
Yeah. Hey man, look, speak your truth. Next time if I'm at a fight, I'm gonna call out like Mariah Carey or something. Just why not? Like,
I'm gonna call out Michael Asiffo next time I fight.
Don't worry, I got it.
And then Joseph Benavidez, we talked about that briefly. Song Yadong and Kyler Phillips, that was a fun fight. Kyler Phillips really exposing some of the weaknesses of Song Yadong. Unless you bring the fight to him or consent to banging, he seems very uncomfortable, and he was able to reach for some of those counters, some of those uppercut left hook counters. But Kyler Phillips staying on his bicycle, Song Yadong showing off a hell of a chin, absorbing head kicks, and, not really thinking much of it, but it seems like very movement-heavy fighters are going to give him issues, and 135 is a division with a lot of movement-heavy fighters.
Movement and length.
Well, I think that's the problem. The problem with Song Yadong, though, at what point do we say, hey, man, you gotta work on some fundamental defense, right? Because
I think his defense is fine in the pocket. It's just out at range.
Yeah,
when you deny him the ranges he's comfortable at, he doesn't seem to have the tricks to force you to fight in his ranges.
Yeah, I felt like I didn't think that there was too much wrong. Do I think he's the most technically proficient striker out there? Definitely not.
I feel like he's like Chinese Doo Ho Choi, where it's like Doo Ho Choi is really fast. When he's in the rhythm, watch out, but he takes a lot of punishment.
He's almost to me, he's almost like a Chinese Jeremy Stevens, if I may, but without the calf kick that Jeremy Stevens added in his later career to kind of get guys to slow them down and force them to stand in front of you. He swings hard. He's hard hitting. He's durable. He works well on the counter, and he's always trying to walk forward and crowd the ring on you. But if you don't consent to that kind of fight with him, he's going to be in for a nightmare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I thought Kyler Phillips did pretty good. He was, as you said, really light on his feet. A bunch of really interesting spinning stuff off the break, just off really weird angles. He just has one of those different fighting style. At least he showed a different fighting style this fight. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he does next.
Okay, guys, anything else we want to bring up, or are we going to bring this puppy home? I think I'm going to reserve my bad take of the week for Friday.
Kennedy.
Real quick.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks. Sorry, David. Thanks. Real quick, I just want to let the audience members know history was made on Friday. Clarissa Shields became the first boxer, man or woman, ever to become undisputed in 2 divisions, junior middleweight and middleweight. And she has her first PFL fight. It should be early summer. I think they said June or July. But yeah, so shout out to Clarissa Shields. I'm next, baby. I'm following your lead. So yeah, no, that was really cool. I mean, she did it against a Canadian, unfortunately, who is actually very talented herself, Marie-Eve Decaire. But yeah, no, she's done it. She's 25 years old and she's done it in 11 fights.
She's 25.
Yeah, she's 25 years old. Clarissa.
Damn.
Shields. So
did I get that right though? Did I hear that there's something romantic going on between Jeremy and Clarissa Shields?
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, we're not confirming or denying that Jeremy and Clarissa Shields have started a hot and sensuous romantic relationship.
No, man, I wish though. I wish.
Clarissa, if you're there,
I wish you could teach me a little bit of that. Man, she's nice. No,
Clarissa, if you're there, our boy Jeremy, he's young, he's good looking, he's got healthy skin, and he's not intimidated. He's not intimidated by a strong, beautiful, vivacious, boxer.
Look, SAT word there. Look at you.
And you know what? So give us a call. Contact us at thelegkick1@gmail.com. Clarissa, if you're out there, you're looking for a boyfriend. Jeremy's available. He's single, and he's ready to treat you to a nice seafood dinner.
And honestly, we'd love to give you a great interview if you would love to join the show. So,
in all seriousness, yeah, we would. I would love to have Clarissa Shields on. In all seriousness, let's.
No, she's made history. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, and she's gonna have her first UFC fight. I'm excited to watch that for sure.
MMA fight.
I'm sorry, mixed martial arts. But sorry, she's gonna have her first MMA fight. So I'm excited to see that too.
Yeah. Sorry.
So, stay tuned for Clarissa Shields versus Gabby Garcia. Anyways, Mike, you had something to say?
No, I want to talk about Kennedy. I can't.
Chukwi. You know what? I thought it was in Chukwi, but they pronounced it so differently on the commentator booth.
It's like Nze Chukwu. It should be Nze Chukwu, but Anyway, yeah, interesting fight. Carlos Ulberg from New Zealand versus Kennedy Nzechukwu. Man, all I'm gonna say is that this dude Kennedy comes up with his hands up in high guard. Carlos is from the infamous City Kickboxing camp, and man, you would have thought that technique always beats power, but that was not the case in this, where Ulberg tries his hardest to like literally
He just wanted him to get him off of him, and he
he's
couldn't
hitting him like
do
he's a
it.
bag. Like
Yeah.
he's literally like going to the bottom, like ripping like left, right, like body shots.
Punched
and
himself
it's not
out.
enough.
Punched himself out, man. Sometimes efficiency is key, especially if you know you're not going to get someone out of there right away. Sit down on some of your punches. Try to find a way to stop the forward pressure. There was too much trying to hurt him on the way in, not enough. Let's get him to stop moving forward. But
Yeah.
he just looked like he had a zombie coming after him.
That's why I was trying to explain. Like,
Kennedy did a good job, man.
Stopping, walking him down. Like, it's crazy. If I guess like the boxing equivalent for Jeremy is like Meldrick Taylor versus Julio Cesar Chavez. Although, that's a famous example, not the same way, but the idea of like,
Or George Foreman versus anybody.
Yeah, actually, that's a good one. Where George is just taking it on the hands a little bit and walking somebody down, and every once in a while you hit somebody with something devastating, right? So I really liked it. I thought this was a good example of you can have a good defense without having to generate swing and miss in the UFC.
Yeah, start if you're to be fair, it was more Ulberg reaching out for the hands of Nzechukwu, which I liked. There were good tricks in the arsenal of Ulberg, but he just punched himself out. Very handsy. I liked some of the work Ulberg was doing from hand fighting, where he'd grab the two hands and then look for a front kick up the middle, or try and turn it over into an elbow or straight shots. Yeah, that was fun.
Or that inside or that inside low kick off it. Sometimes they would switch it up, and he'd pretend like he's going for the knee and throw an inside low kick. Like, man, he was super techy with it. He just punched himself out. I just wanted to make sure that we had time to also just really quickly talk about. Did you guys see that Sean Brady guy?
Yeah, man.
In the fight before?
He's got some jiu-jitsu on him.
Man, that guy might be Kamaru. I'm just going to say it early. It's early, but, he might be Kamaru. Because he's got a style that's going to give a lot of guys problem. Like, he's got a power-oriented, like, jiu-jitsu game. And, like, it wasn't even close. It wasn't close against Jake Matthews. It wasn't close. No disrespect. And Jake Matthews is a vet, right? And he's coming off a win streak.
I cautioned that because I really thought Gregor Gillespie was going to be the guy to beat Khabib. I really did. Like I saw him against Yancy Medeiros, and I was like, oh my God, who's this guy, right? And then he gets knocked out by Kevin Lee. So you never know, right?
You never know. I watch out if I'm Kamaru though. Like his game is nice, and it's like power oriented, and like it's pressure. Like he's nice too. So yeah.
So yeah, guys. Anyways, we were anything else?
No story time. No. Oh, we should do an ask question segment like one of these days.
We'll do it. We're gonna make a more regular thing of doing an ask question segment, and we had a bad take of the week, but let's be honest, we're nearly 2 hours in, so it might be time to wrap this puppy up.
There's several bad takes of the weeks in this 2 hours, so
we gave you your fill. I got a segment for you. We'll do bad take of the week. Stay tuned for our preview either Thursday or Friday. We got a pretty decent card coming up. The return of Leon Edwards against Bilal. Remember the name Muhammad. Misha Serkinov also on that card versus Ryan Spann. Dan Ige versus Gavin Tucker. So a couple of big Canadian names to keep your eye out for. Manel Cave back. Ben Rothwell. What's that?
Time out. Bilal's nickname is Remember the Name?
Yeah, that's right. Dude, we had a discussion about this yesterday. I was like, hey, guys, isn't Bilal Remember the Name Muhammad a terrible nickname? And you guys just no-sold me. You're all just.
I love it.
You guys were all just. You guys just said nothing. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll just fuck myself then.
Hold on a second. I wasn't there.
Remember? Oh yeah, that was Jeremy and Christian.
Was it there?
I love it.
Yeah, they're just like. Okay, well, I guess I'm just gonna go jump off the balcony then. Thanks, guys.
I did not hear what he said. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, then, Jeremy, let me send you a box of Q-tips.
I'm sure it was hilarious.
Yeah, let me get you a box of Q-tips. Anyways, We're the Leg Kick Podcast, everybody. We got big things in store. Unfortunately, though, we can't do it without you guys because you guys make us who we are. That's right. We have a parasocial relationship with you, the fans, and we depend on you for our personality and eventually, hopefully, our financial well-being as well. So, send us your dollars. If you're a sponsorship out there, looking to sponsor a, up-and-coming MMA podcast and want to throw your lot in with us, go ahead. That could be a supple little experience for you as well. If you're Clarissa Shields out there, remember, Jeremy is a charming young lad, and he's going to treat you right.
Ooh. Ooh, kill him.
Okay, we need to chill out because she actually has a man, so we shouldn't really be.
Oh, word? Okay.
I don't want to make any.
And I bet he can box too.
I don't want to talk about her relationship like that. I actually have like the utmost respect for that woman.
So, guys,
David's so done.
one more. David is done. David's like hilarious. This is sexist.
Listen, I'll talk shit about Jake Paul all day, but Clarissa Shields, I'm not gonna besmirch her name.
Jake Paul versus Clarissa Shields coming up. Like the podcast. Please subscribe to us if you haven't already. Tell a friend about it if you think they might enjoy our content. We would really, really appreciate that. We're trying to grow this thing, and we're trying to give you more and more. We're the gift that keeps on giving, just like syphilis. And we want to give you more, but you got to help us out, and you've got to give us as a present, like syphilis, to your loved ones. Show it, like syphilis, give us to your grandma, give us to your girlfriend, give us to, the lunch lady at your school, like you would give syphilis to all of those people. And Mike, to play us out, what does that mean?
Well, that was interesting. In this crazy mixed up world where TJ Dillashaw forgot he was doing EPO and decided to badmouth another fighter, just remember, you got family, you got life.
Dillashaw's Mike's new heel.
Man, dude, what dumbass. You got life, you got family, and this podcast. Have fun doing that EPO, TJ.